You
Hello,
go.
everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to have Sarah Antonelli here with me. She is currently the girls and women's youth and amateur hockey specialist with Carolina Hurricanes. So, coming from a place of love, my favorite organization, but I'm so excited to have her here and dig into what she does and the growth of girls and women's hockey here in North Carolina and truly all over the country. So, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time and joining me today.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. It's a beautiful day here in Raleigh, North
Yes.
Carolina. I
Yes.
my husband and I have bounced around a little bit since COVID, just finding the right spot. And thankfully I can sit outside where it's not too miserable or not too cold. Finally in September. So excited
Yes.
to be here. Currently I'm the girls and women's hockey specialist with the Carolina Hurricanes, which also got me tied into the travel affiliate group, which is called the Carolina Junior Hurricanes. Everything's Canes, Canes, Canes. So I'm pretty much tied to all those Canes affiliates that have to do with girls hockey.
I love it. And we've been here in Junior Canes for years, but it's so cool to see the growth that it has had truly in expanding to girls and women's, which I think has been something that's been talked about for a long time, but to see the action behind it is truly powerful and
Mm-hmm.
incredible. I want to start with you first because you played hockey for quite some time. So, how did your hockey story start? When did you become hooked on hockey?
So I know that you said that your dad was from Michigan. I'm also originally from Michigan, and up there or anywhere in the north or the northeast is you're playing hockey. And so all my cousins played. I have two cousins that are exactly the same age as me. We, grade school, high school, always in the same class. And so there was a time where we were all three on the same team. So that was fun for our family. And all my siblings played, etc. So it was just natural for me to pick up the sport. In Michigan, you pick it up at you start skating by the time you're walking, so four, but playing hockey by 5 and 6, so it was just natural. I know that a lot of women, in these podcasts talk about how there wasn't an all girl opportunity at that time. That's the same for me. So I played boys hockey up until my second year of 14U, and that's when I transitioned to girls hockey. So I played for teams like Little Caesars and Bell Tire, and then had the opportunity to play at Stevenson University, which is in Maryland.
Very cool. And getting to play for that Little Caesars team too. There's such, we were just talking about it, but there's such history with that.
Obnoxious colors. You
There's,
can't miss them.
I know. But there's such, we were just talking about, there's such rich history with that team. And I can only imagine
Mm-hmm.
just playing and growing up in that organization and playing for that team. Uh, must feel a little crazy, but what position were you? What was your specialty?
I would say up until 14U, I was, it's good for kids to play every and all positions except for goalie. Usually those are a little bit more specific. Um, but then when I transitioned to girls hockey, and it was a little more serious. You're putting a little bit more time and money into it. I stuck with defense, and that was really my role.
I that was always my pick for any sport. I was like, I'm gonna be back here.
I'm gonna be that. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I obviously there's less conditioning. I have a player on my team right now that she started off on forward, and I was like, hey, I need a defenseman, and she's like, this is way easier. I'm not going like coast to coast. She's like, I should have done this a long time ago. Like, you're right. That's where it's at.
stick
The
with
smart people are on defense.
yes. You've transitioned after you played in college. You transitioned to coaching. You started, playing with the Madison Square Garden Company and doing work with them, which was essentially the New York Rangers, um,
Mhm.
their lower teams. And then, of course, you did time with Detroit Red Wings too. You're here now. What was the transition from playing to coaching for you?
I really started coaching even when I was playing.
Okay.
So um there's I just it kind of was within me, and I
Yeah.
don't mean to sound conceited, but it was just something that I was passionate about, so it came naturally to me. I
Nice.
had a lot of great coaches, so for me, like I wanted to be that for somebody else. And it's funny now that I'm coaching, I've texted a lot of my old coaches and I'm like, I'm so sorry you had to deal with me. I know that I was a feisty Italian
Yes.
who always said I know, and like thank you so much. And they didn't have any
Yeah.
stake in the game, they didn't have any kids, so it's it's been nice to go back to my coaches and hopefully they feel respected and thankful for me reaching out, and I just can only hope that I get the same one day.
I'm a research nerd when I get to have a guest on,
Mm,
but I love
mm.
getting to see your post of you going against and coaching against coaches that played underneath. What
Yes.
what is that environment like? Are you like secretly giving eyes to the coaches like, "Hey, I know your tricks," or like what is that like for you?
Oh, I totally, the coach that you're talking about, his name is Mike Vigilante,
Yes.
and he was my coach with Beltire, so he was my coach for 3 years,
Okay.
and somebody that I just really looked up to, and a coach whose
Yeah.
tendencies I feel like I've taken on a little bit. And we actually played when I was coaching 14U at Little Caesars. We played his 14U team
Very
with
cool.
Beltire,
Yeah.
and we won states. And I got to rub it in his face, and it was so awesome. And I was probably a little inappropriate when I was bragging, but he gets it. So it's been really cool. And it's such a small world. Like I'm coaching against coaches that I had, I'm
Yeah.
coaching against players that I played with, I'm coaching with
Yeah.
players that I coach. It's just like the tier is
It's
really
cool.
fun.
I think that's the cool thing about hockey too, and this community. Like everybody's has some connection to everybody, no matter
Oh
who
yeah.
you played for, where you're from. Everybody has spent time with somebody at some point.
Yep. Yep. It's like we go to a tournament and I'm bound to know at least somebody or an acquaintance of that team. So
Yeah.
it's really cool.
What is your coaching style when you're behind the bench?
I feel like it changes with every team, and the position that I'm in. So if I'm an assistant coach, just really um, taking the lead from the head coach and going off of their vibe and what their message is with the team, and trying to be as supportive as possible. But when it comes to head coach, again, I think it goes depending on what team that you're with. So right now, my 16U team, like history has shown that
Yeah.
they've come out of tournaments with 2 wins and 3 losses, or
Yep.
3 wins and 2 losses, and they've always kind of broken even. And I have a really special team this year. Just the stars are kind of aligning, and the
Yeah.
birth years that are coming together, and the coaching styles and the organization, everything's kind of coming together. And I'm trying to change their mindset to like it's no longer okay to just be mediocre. Like you guys have the opportunity to be a really special team and have a lot of wins under your belt, but they don't feel that yet, they don't understand that yet, because that's how it's always been.
Yep. Yep.
So my coaching style this year is really like it's not good enough to lose anymore. It's
Yep.
um you can't blame it on the non-traditional market anymore. Like one of my pregame speeches for the first game was like, look at who was in the NHL, Final Four this
Yep.
past season. It was all non-traditional markets. You have Vegas,
Yep.
Texas, Florida, and Canes. Those are all teams in the South. Like
Yeah.
we're not non-traditional anymore.
Yeah.
Like stop, get that out of your head. So that's kind of my coaching style this year. I've been a little more hardcore so that the
Love
girls
it.
like understand like you are winners who can be winners.
I love it. And I mean, to that point, I think it is, we're going to get to this and, having girls and women's hockey in a non-traditional market. But I think that is, we've had that tag on us for so long. And I think we'll continue to have that tag on us. As we'll always be that team, but it's always so interesting to the point you just made, Florida, us, Vegas winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard to have that conversation with people and be like non-traditional versus traditional. There was no traditional happening in the Stanley Cup, and
Right.
past year or so, um, it's something that I wish we could move away from, but I don't think
I know.
I
It's
don't
like
think
just one of those titles. I can't think of a comparison, but you know what I mean. It's just like one of those titles you can't shake. It's like you do something when you're a kid and your grandparent brings it up again and you're like, oh my God, I was a kid when I did that. Like, come on.
yeah, yeah. Women's and girls hockey. I first just want to get into the growth that we have had in this area of hockey. You know, we were talking about it beforehand. There didn't used to be this kind of circle and momentum around girls and women's hockey. Teams started making these initiatives to get more involved with girls and women's hockey. Where have you seen the growth and the momentum take girls and women's hockey, no matter if it's with your time with Hurricanes, Detroit, whatever it may be?
It's a tough question. It's just there's been so many different angles. I think in New York, which was my first
Yeah.
NHL job, um, they had a really great marketing team, and I had a really great boss who just like pretty much took over the entire tri-state. He made really great relationships with every rink there, and they bought in. The rinks bought
Yeah.
in. So anything girl related, they were like, go to the junior rangers. And so I think having really great relationships and maintaining those great relationships is what really helped in New York, and
Yeah.
having a really great leader, great boss. I think in Detroit, I mean, when we talk about non-traditional and traditional, it was a very traditional market.
Yep.
So, and, similar to what I said, they've been playing since they were little. So that one was kind of easy. Detroit was already doing its thing. So for me to step into that role, it was really just like maintaining and
Yeah.
uh, just creating my own relationships in that space, in that area, and reconnecting with old friends. And then with the Hurricanes, Alyssa Gallardi was in my position before, and she was such a great leader. Although everyone knows here, I mean, obviously she's from North Carolina. She went and played at Shattuck St. Mary's in Minnesota because the opportunities weren't as elite at that point. So she had to take her skills elsewhere.
Yep.
But her coming back and working in this role and really building the foundation for this program and getting that really great base is what has really helped me to hit the ground running when I came here about a year ago. And the momentum has just kept going up and up and up. And it's really from the first goal program. That's what really starts anything youth hockey here. Girls, boys, diverse, etc. Is that first goal program. It's just it's for $295. You get a full set of equipment. We have an equipment fitting day at PNC. It's a really good experience. You get different perks with being part of the program: 2 free tickets, 6 skating sessions, and that's an NHL initiative that all the teams have taken on. But the Canes and Shane Willis do a really nice job with that, and so that really sets the foundation.
What I have an appreciation for about the Hurricanes organization is the buy-in from alumni and from you were just talking about it, like Shane has an amazing relationship, whether it be broadcasting or inside working with the One Goal program. And that's what I love about this organization, and I'm sure that's happening with others as well, but it's more apparent with us, the buy-in from alumni and people who have been part of this team for so long, and I think that speaks volume. Justin Williams has his own thing going on, and I think it's just incredibly cool. All of it that the Hurricanes have going on.
Yeah, a lot of the alumni are actually coaching with the junior Canes, which is really cool to see. And obviously, I have another colleague. His name is Thomas, and he coaches, I believe it's 12 AAA or 11. I always mess that up. But Rod's son plays for his team, and so does Burns' child. So they hop on the ice, and it's just everybody's at Invisalign Arena. That's
Yes.
talk about branding. Everybody's at Invisalign Arena. That's the place to be.
Yeah.
That's the best rink in town, and
Yes.
everybody's pitching in when they can.
Yeah.
Shane
And
does everything though. Shane is like
he
a
does.
Swiss Army knife,
I
Swiss
I
Army
still
blade,
remember
whatever.
last I still remember last year we went to my dad and I went to go pick up our bibs for the Canes 5K, and he was behind the table like handing out bibs and
Right.
t-shirts to people. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here?
Yeah, right. He's a very boots on the ground
Yeah.
type of leader. It's really awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
anything that we're doing, he's doing. There's nothing like above or below his pay grade.
I
He
love
does it
that.
all.
What is something exciting that's maybe happening this year or that has been happening with girls and women's hockey that you are just really amped up about, that you're excited, that's kind of fueling your world right now?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've seen that the two women's leagues, professional women's
Yes.
leagues, have merged, and it feels like there's just really great momentum behind that. The PWHL, it's had like four different names,
Yeah.
obviously, just with the two different teams, and the former NWHL changed to PHF, and now
Yeah.
they're the PWHL,
Yeah.
and then there was the PWHPA. All these like
All
acronyms,
the
but
acronyms.
yeah, I'm glad we're moving on to bigger and better. It looks like there's a lot of NHL support behind it.
Yes.
I think the Minnesota team actually is playing out of the Excel Center, which is where the Wild play. So
Cool.
it's just it feels like
Yeah.
finally we've proved to everybody that women's hockey is worth watching, and always having that rivalry series between Canada and the
Yep.
U.S. That's what's really built
Yep.
that momentum, and people are finally like, okay, like this is really entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
They're still very physical, even though there's not checking.
Yeah.
But it's really physical, and there is a great rivalry between those two teams, and
Yeah.
so between that series and the new league, it's really great that the girls have somewhere to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. It was the talk of the town, and the six cities dropping. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I'm excited to see the strategy behind it, how it's put together, what it looks like. I'm extremely excited to see how this all comes together. Now
Yeah,
that we made the big announcement.
yeah, and been making a lot of posts recently, and there's some really great leaders behind it. Like
Yes.
it's so
Yeah.
leadership is a game changer.
Important. Yep. I'm extremely excited to see it. I want to go back to hurricanes and uh this initiative that the NHL has done. I want to just ask what is the process of bringing kids into uh the movement, the initiative? What does that process look like? How are you guys getting the word out?
Honestly, the first goal program has, which as I mentioned, is
Yeah.
where the majority of players in North Carolina begin.
Yep.
It's really sold itself. Our marketing team has been really great about
Yeah.
following up with us, but honestly, we send one little email to our youth hockey database, and it's sold
Yeah.
out. It's just it's booming right now. It kind of
Yeah.
sells itself.
Cool.
But I mean, I've been with other teams that that momentum isn't on an upward trajectory, and it's difficult. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
social media for sure is a big one. Some teams have a separate youth hockey account and then the big team account. So, posting a lot on the youth hockey accounts, but then pushing that information through the big account when you can. Obviously, they have their own calendar they're working off of for the big team. Social media, though, that's a big one. Website, making sure our website's up to date and all those links are working properly. And obviously with Shane being in the position he's in, he can oftentimes bring that to TV as well. So
Yep.
it's done well here.
For you, you've done 12U, you've done 14U, 19U. Is there one that you're like, yep, this is my group. I love to coach this, like whatever the age is. Is there a favorite? I'm gonna make you pick a children here.
I know there's such like pros and cons of all age groups.
Yeah.
I really like the 12s because at 12U is really where you're like, okay, am I going to take this more seriously, or is this just a fun sport for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And coaching 12U girls, like they haven't hit that ornery spot yet. So they're like, yes, coach. I really respect you. I was really, really worried about the 14U team with Little Caesars. I was like, oh, that's like right when they hit puberty. I'm just
Yep.
like scared. They're gonna be too moody.
Yeah.
And there were definitely were some girls, but and I definitely did see those like mood swings, but I had a really great group. Um, I enjoyed the 19U team as well, but the majority of those players have already committed to schools,
Yeah.
and so I don't get to be a part of that
Yeah.
college scouting
Yeah.
communication process. So I would have to say 16 so far
Okay.
has been my favorite because you get that competitiveness, you've got
Yeah.
the buy-in because they're at 16,
Yes.
like you're either in this or you're not. It's a lot
Yeah.
of money, so they're bought in, and I get to be a part of that
Very cool.
college relationship and sending them off to the best fit.
Very cool. 12 and 14. That's like it's the weird in between where you're like, this could be a really bad attitude day. This could be
Yeah,
a really good one.
yeah. And thankfully, when I was at 12U, like it was just a tournament team, so I wasn't, practicing day in and day out with the girls. So whereas with the 14U team, it was like 2, 3 practices a week and traveling with them, and but it was fun. They were good girls. They were
Good,
really good girls.
good.
Passionate. That's how
Yes,
we'd explain it.
there
They
you go.
were passionate.
I one of my favorite things to ask people in your position in this sports world. Sports world is a massive mentorship avenue from being mentored yourself to now in a position where you can mentor others. What's the important, like what did you learn from your mentors that maybe you're carrying forward? What's that like in your mind?
Be receptive to feedback. That's huge because if you're not hearing it from somebody else, you obviously think you're doing the best that you possibly can. So if you
Yeah.
don't hear that feedback from others, and just making sure they know, like, hey, I'm receptive to feedback. I want to soak it all up. Like, please
Yeah.
be transparent with me. I think also just making the most of those connections. You never know what that connection can do for you.
Yeah.
So just be respectful, be a kind person, because I mean, even like at event level, like some people are wearing sweatpants and you're like, oh my God, that was the owner of the company, or like that was the, head coach. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't know because they're just walking around like casuals. I remember, and like and the NHL isn't as popular as like football, American football.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think like those players are a little bit more recognizable, and unless you see someone like the hot shots like McKinnon or Sidney Crosby or,
Yeah.
I don't know, whoever else, but
Somebody, yeah.
all the guys, I was thinking Ovechkin, it wouldn't come off of the tip of my
Yeah, there
tongue.
you go. I got you.
Um, but I remember someone was telling me when I was working for New York that Mika Zibanejad like lived 2 blocks away,
Yeah.
and he would literally just walk to the rink during game days and not a single person would like come up to him because he's just like he's wearing a suit just like everybody else in New
Yeah.
York, and he's just minding his business, and he's like a unique looking guy. Like he doesn't
Yeah, the
look like every
hair.
other dude.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I think people, if Bernsey was walking around, people would recognize him for sure.
yeah,
He's a little identifiable, but I think anywhere else, I completely agree with you.
yeah, yeah. Even like when I wasn't working for the Canes, or
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of those that I think I would have been able when he
Yeah.
was playing for San Jose, and I wasn't even a San Jose fan,
Yes.
didn't watch any of their games, whatever. Like I would definitely be able to pick him out of the crowd.
Yes. Yes. No, but I think to the point you were saying about mentorship, I always tell people too, I'm like, be kind to everybody because you
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
no idea how that person will help you in life, no matter who it is. They will know somebody
Yeah,
that you don't and want to be connected to, and it's
right.
crazy
Yeah,
how it truly is a small world, small world.
yeah. And I've certainly like made that mistake before, especially like with my first job in New York. It was just so go 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 that there would be times that, maybe I would kind of just blow somebody off or be distracted in the
Right,
conversation.
right.
And I think back to those times, but that's part of it too. And that's something that
Yeah,
I wanted to say is like as I'm a little bit older now and have a little bit more experience, I'm working with a lot of young individuals like just entering the space, and they get so overwhelmed with the mistakes that they made, and that's the only way that you're going to learn. That's, I mean, in the sports world, you're really just thrown into things. I mean, there's not too much training because it's every situation is different, so those mistakes are going to happen. And even in my new director role with the junior canes, like I've made a ton of mistakes, and I'm asking for a lot of feedback, and I'm like bothering the executive directors of the
Yes,
junior
yes,
canes. But like, I feel like I just communicated this with them the other day. I was like, I feel like I'm finally like, it's
yeah,
only been a couple months, and I feel like I'm finally, okay, I have the answers to the
yeah,
questions now. I know how to handle X, Y, and Z. So it just takes a little bit of time. It doesn't even take a long time,
it
but
does.
don't
I
get too hard on yourself.
I think the giving yourself grace is a statement that a lot of people say, but it's one that means so much. I'm in a
Yeah.
I just started a new job a couple months ago in a completely different
Yeah.
industry for me, so it's one I was like drinking out of the fire,
Ooh, yeah.
just absolutely trying to immerse myself in this new
Yeah.
industry, trying to learn. But I said the same thing. I was like last week, I was like, I finally feel like I'm not drinking out of the fire
Yes.
hose as much because I understand what's going on. I got my feet, I got a foundation.
Right.
I was like, it's still absolute chaos. I said,
Yeah.
I at least feel like it's a managed chaos for me that I have an
Right.
understanding. So to your point, like
Right.
ask the dumb people say dumb questions. I'm like, ask the dumb questions, ask
Oh yeah.
whatever questions it is
Yeah.
because it's gonna get you to that end point
Yeah.
quicker and
Of
to be
course.
successful and to learn.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
100%. Yeah. I've gotten used to bothering people, or what I thought was bothering people. But I'm also in that position where I have people that are asking me a lot of questions, and
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me. So I don't know, understand why I have that perspective when
Yeah.
I'm asking others 1,000 questions.
Yes. Well, Sarah, my last question for you is just what inspires you?
I like to stay moving. I like to stay moving. I like to be, although it's overwhelming drinking from that fire hose. It
Yeah.
seems like there's a new challenge every month. But what I'm really just trying to focus on is I'm still in my 20s, a couple more years to my 30s. And that's kind of like, that's where my goals lie right now, is at that 30s. Then when I reach 30, it's a whole other set of goals. But right now, I'm just trying to like still be in that in between spot where I'm a follower and a leader at the same time. I'm trying to stay in that soft space so that I'm always learning, but I'm also like giving back to some of the beginners as well.
Yeah.
So I just like to keep moving, have my hands in a couple different things, keep
Yeah.
those connections. And yeah, I just love hockey.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't get enough of it.
Love it. I love it. You and I would get along very well. I am like I've been here my entire life, but I'm like I'm always going. I'm like I have always
Yeah.
got my hand in something, and
Yes.
my parents look at me like I'm nuts. I'm like, you don't understand how my mind like I just love being able to be part of things and
Yeah.
do stuff like this and have conversations with people and whatever it may be. I'm like,
Right.
it's fantastic. Uh,
Yeah.
and to have conversations around hockey makes it even better for
Yeah.
me.
Right. And I think as women, I'm married. I've been with my husband for
Yeah.
6, I think, going on 7 years. And like, obviously, once you get married, everyone's asking like, when are you having kids? When are you having kids? It's always something. Like first, it's like,
Yes.
when are you getting married? And then you're married, and then it's like, when are you having kids? And then you have kids, and it's like, when are you retired? I don't know what the
Yeah.
next question
Oh
is.
yeah,
But
all of it.
so yeah, I've kind of like pushed off those people. I know they're not asking. I mean, our parents just want grandkids, and
Yeah.
our friends just want to see us happy, and whomever else, like they're not doing it maliciously, but
Delicious.
as women we have this like ticking, we have this clock, and so I'm just trying to do as much as I can in my 30 or my 20s leading up to my 30s, because I know at some point I'm going to have to slow down a little bit to have
Yeah.
kids.
Yes. Sarah, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk with me today and to dive into your world a little bit more. If you guys do not follow Sarah, all of her socials are going to be linked down below. So you can follow her and all the incredible work her and her team are doing in girls and women's hockey. But thank you, Sarah, for joining me today.
Absolutely. It was nice chatting with you. And a fellow Caniac.
Yes. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. As always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.
We'll see ya.